everybody. Recently I had a really good meeting with FEMA. I'm being told that unofficially a lot of the V zones that came out after Sandy will be reverting back to an A zone. Not everywhere. It seems like the majority of the areas will be. So if you had an A zone before the storm, there's a good chance you're going back to an A zone once the new maps roll out later this year. Now, as regards to the elevations, there was really no talk about the elevations. Considering we saw 11 and 12-foot surges in the town, I'd be hard-pressed to believe that the 14 number would change. If it does, it won't be much at all, maybe the 13. But I think the elevations are going to stay put. But a lot of the town is going back to an A zone, which obviously is going to help the downtown, the business district, many of you downtown. It's a much easier lift. It's a much more cost-effective lift for a lot of people. So I think that was good news. Many of you have gotten the letters in the mail, a cover letter from me with letters saying you're substantially damaged. I understand there are many errors. There's no doubt about it. There's a letter that went out for a parking lot. It went out with my predecessor did those letters. I'm here to correct them. I'm here to make sure those that are substantially damaged are apply for the grants, keep everything in mind, comply with the zoning, comply with the floodplain. Those who weren't and want to appeal, I want to get everybody through that process too. In the last 2 weeks, I've had many of you come in with appeals. Many of you have been successful in your appeals. I anticipate many more of you coming in. Probably going to be shutting down the appeals process down sometime this summer with regards to substantial damage. By then, everybody should know if they are or not. Probably midsummer, I'm thinking. I know there's been concerns about, well, I want to keep the letter intact, but if I don't get grant money, then I want to appeal the letter. You know, I can't tie the two together. Either you're damaged or you're not. I need to make sure that grant money, whatever we do get, gets used for the people that really did lose everything. They had the catastrophic damage. They had substantial damage to where they need to get up in the air. So we'll see how things go at that point. The grants list, that's still active. I encourage you, if you haven't gotten out of the grants list, please get a hold of me, get a hold of the girls in the Solution Center. If you don't have a computer, access to a computer, go through them. They will email me, or you can send me an email yourself. I just need something in writing I can put in my file that stated you requested to be put on the grants list. Again, they're not binding. All it is to say you'd be interested in getting grants to assist in lifting your house. You have until, I'd say, the 11th hour, for lack of a better term, to get yourself off that list. But what that does, that gets you in for consideration. Not a guarantee, it's a consideration. So basically, we submitted the letters of intent for the house listing. That was one portion of it. We asked for $151 million, and I don't think we're going to get $151 million.
150?
Maybe 150, Mayor, maybe 150, but you know, I'm not sure about that. We'll see. We're going to aim high on this one.
Give me 150.
We're going to aim high. So basically, you know, when the money goes back down the chain again, that's when we have to submit the actual application and submit the actual list of houses. And I want to make sure everybody who wants to be on the list gets on that list. So please, if you haven't done so already, come down and see me. Shoot me an email if you want. Come down to the Solution Center. If I'm not there, you can certainly talk to the ladies that are down there. They can get you on that list. I just want to make sure everybody's included who wants to be. Just remember the caveat behind that is, especially with the hazard mitigation grant, if you apply for it, you can't start lifting now and ask for the money later. They're not going to let you do that. Okay? They will dictate, when I say they, it's FEMA. FEMA in the state will dictate how that money gets spent. So we can't lift now and then ask for that money later on, because they're going to tell us the provisions on how we have to spend that money.
Dale, do me a favor, say your number and email so it goes up on the screen, everyone knows it.
Sure, no problem. My email address is DLEU, B as in boy, NER, at T as in Tom, AND, M as in Mary, Associates.com. My number, probably the best place to reach me, you can try the office, which is 732-671-6400. My cell is 732-241-9792. A lot of times I'm on the road, so a lot of times I can't pick that number up. So probably the best thing to do right now is email me. You may get a straight email from me around midnight some nights. Some days it's the only time I have a chance to reply to you, but I guarantee I won't be calling you back that time. So, best thing I could say is to wrap this up is get on the grace list if you want. If you want to appeal the substantial damage letter, please do so. I'll get you through the process. If you choose not to and you keep it, keep in mind by the end of 2016, I'll be looking for you to come into compliance with your property. Whether it's lifting up a house, whether it's flood-proofing a business, flood-proofing a condominium complex, or a townhouse complex, you will have to come into compliance at that point.
Thank you, Dale. We're going to hear from our borough administrator now, Mr. Tim Hill. Thank you, Tim.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to give a couple updates on some programs and processes that we're working on with the borough. A lot of folks, the last time we were here, possibly at the council meeting, I had mentioned the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's waterway debris removal program. They're still out and about in our zone, which we're actually Zone 2, which encompasses, I want to say, the Navesink River on up to the Upper Raritan Bay area, basically Middlesex and Monmouth County. Statistically, it's pretty interesting to see they've removed over 1,918 cubic yards of debris in the inland waterway areas, because they're also going up into the inland waterway areas to clean out from the storm. Total large debris, 15 vessels have been taken thus far. So they found vessels. They don't describe vessels as boats or cars, but you can imagine what might be out there. Total acres verified as surveyed by side scan sonar just in this region, 10,271 acres have been side sonar to date. They've identified 815 targets, and that can be, that ranges from anything that they see subsurface. And so far they've retrieved about 70 of the identified targets. There's also targets that are below the depth of the draft or below, they're pretty deep, so they're not really concerned about them at this point. So that's some of the things that they're working on. So if you do see the folks out there in the boats, if you do have any concerns, you can always call DEP directly, or we do have daily updates from the DEP on how that's going. Another item I've been asked to pass along is the hazardous waste removal efforts that we're making. We all know that we have some debris that's been collected and we sorted it out. We're getting in the process of obtaining additional quotes to have all the debris down at the Public Works Yard removed. However, if you do have household hazardous waste and you want to participate, Monmouth County has a hazardous waste disposal date on Saturday, May 4th up in Hazlet. That's off Union Avenue. Take the Union Avenue jug handle, go beyond the Burger King, and that's one of the sites that they do have. You should call if you have questions about what they'll take. There's also, it has to be labeled, so if your labels fell off and your cans are rusted, they won't take unidentified objects. They do point out, and we've been told this numerous times, that latex household paint technically is not considered hazardous waste. However, you can't just throw the paint can in the garbage and then it gets into the garbage truck and it explodes on our street. You can open the can lids, you can let the paint dry out, and the latex paint then can be put in with your regular household trash. So that's one thing they want to remind us, because the cost of doing so, it costs the county about $6 a gallon to dispose of the latex paint if they take it. So you can imagine how many gallons we have. So we're going to try to get that done and continue. We do ask for folks that do have items to just be careful what you're mixing. Please don't put things in your garbage. We've had some minor reports of incidents with the sanitation, letting us know that there's been some items put in the trash that really shouldn't be there, so we want to keep up on that. Another item I've been asked to mention, we will be posting this up down at the Borough Hall, at the old Borough Hall, and everywhere we can. The Highlands Municipal Court, for those of you that don't know, is operating out of the location at 100 First Avenue. The municipal court office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. And the Highlands court sessions continue to be run on the second and fourth fourth Tuesdays of each month at 3 p.m. I don't think anyone here in this room has to worry about this, but I just want to make sure everybody knows where to go.
Tim, what's the address
If they
again?
need to. The address is 100 First Avenue, that's at the Atlantic Highlands Borough Hall, and the court administrator's Blanche Reed, and I'll slowly tell you her phone number and extension is 732-291-1444, and her extension is 3305. So they wanted me to make sure that I got that information out. I did let folks know the last time too, we're working with Highlands Elementary School to support additional programs. Looks like right now our summer recreation program will be run at the Highlands Elementary School. We ran it there a couple of years ago when we were under renovations at the center. We have had the flood elevation certificates done. They're in the process of being done for the center and other borough properties, which is a step that we had to take to find out where we're going to be moving along in the future. So that's well underway as we speak. If you have any questions, you can always give me a call. Do use the 1408 temporary number. I promise you I'm working on that daily to get that phone situation straightened out and to get people relocated where they need to be.
Tim, what's that phone number? 148, you know?
You're going to have to go to the website. I don't have that one committed to my mind.
I don't know what's on my head.
We'll find it. It's definitely on the website. I just press speed dial and that's how I find it. You have it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
408-432-2811.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other than that, if you have any questions or wish to see me later, I will be here. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Two things I wanted to make sure everybody was clear of that we spoke about. One, what Dale said, we still have to raise the houses to the height we talked about, just maybe the way we have to raise it will change from Highlands to columns and other things. So it's not that it's going to go away that we have to raise it, it's the mechanism and how we have to raise them is what might change. Also, what we talked about the last meeting about the zoning and the ordinances that are possibly going to be changed where we can raise buildings to break the height limitations that we have right now, depending on how much you have to raise the building. That was passed at the planning board last Thursday night. Nobody was here, I know, because nobody showed up, but that's another story. And that was passed last Thursday night. That's at the council table this Wednesday night. So this Wednesday night at 8 o'clock at the elementary school, we have a council meeting to vote on that, and hopefully that goes in the, in the right direction for the town. Before we have our intermission, I want to just acknowledge some folks out here. I have Council President Rebecca Kane sitting next to me, Councilwoman Carol Ryan, and Councilman Chris Francis out there. He's camera shy sometimes, but he's out there. We're going to take about a 10-minute break, folks. Fill out the cards, grab something to eat or drink, and anyone you want to see individually, you can go see them now, and we'll just come back in when we're done, okay? And go over to the Solution Center. We have all the documents you need over there to fill out for the Gateway Church. Thank you.
Frank, I wanted to ask you, Care One is running an event, like they're giving out money to Highlands residents. That's why I was running late, they just called me. They wanted to know if you can attend their ceremony. The problem is it's next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And I told them that... Are you? Okay. Really? Okay, because they can figure out in the Middletown area there and everything. It's like, I'm like, did you get them already? And I said, because I thought it'd be tough for you with work, but...
No, I would have taken some time, but you can go.
Yeah.
You can go.
I'm getting foot procedure that day. I told him I would go. I might be groggy.
Oh, that's the guy that contacted...
Mike Gentile?
Yeah, he contacted one of Lori's friends with the Girl Scouts, and Karen went and checked it out. I never even thought about it. Your mom still works there?
Yeah.
See, I never even thought about that. Okay.
Yeah, so they called me and I said, okay, and that's what I
So
said.
tell him it's no disrespect, I'm out of town the whole week at the conference of mayors.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna
I
let them
talked
know
to
that.
Jerry Schaufelberger, and he told me he was going to Colorado
They
also.
probably don't know that.
Because Wednesday and Thursday are the big days down there. It's all Cindy-related stuff. Christie's whole team's supposed to be there. It's 50th anniversary. He's supposed to be there.
I'll let them know that. They might even want to change the date then, because...
And by the way, if they want to go like, I don't want to tell them if they want to go any Fridays or whatever, I'll be there.
Well, that's what I told them. I said, I know you're very open on Fridays and stuff like
Friday,
that.
I'll cancel anything you already have planned.
Right. That's what I told them. I said, Wednesday it might be tough, but, and they wanted to see if I can get the senator back there and stuff better.
So I'll be down there.
We might want to change.
They're having these almost like breakout sessions, exactly. And it's going to be like the guy who's writing the laws on how we're going to raise them, money, blah, blah, blah. He's giving that class. The governor's committed to it, and the lieutenant. I don't know if it's going to be every day or those days, but
Yeah, but
committed
still,
to it.
still.
Plus it's the 50th anniversary.
Yes, we will have to permits. Is that Wednesday night's meeting?
Yes, yeah, that's part of what we're talking about. Yep.
You have this if you want, because this is on the rezone and all of that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That out. 150,000, we were in the B zone to raise a house. If it wasn't
Who's quoting that?
right in the
Okay.
yeah. But if we go back to the A zone, it would be like.
Can I tell you something? When we did the whole program for Irene, we actually had 140 per house, and it was called the A zone, including your ICC money. It was 110 per house and then 30 for ICC. No, it was a grant. We had the money. All we were doing was filling out the rest of the paper. It was a FEMA grant. We were filling out the paperwork. We were literally in the process of like going out to bid, and then Sandy hit. That was like a done deal. It was 110 a house or 111 a house, and then The next meeting is May
'Cause we have to look at it
Carl, you ready? Come on. Right here. Folks, we're going to get started, all right? Want to grab your seats? I will. Folks, we have an event coming up in town, Comcast Cares Day. It's April 27th. Every year they go out and do a lot of things in towns that are in need. This year, obviously, there's a lot of towns in need. There's a lot more in each town that needs to be done. So they're expanding it a little bit. And there's other companies that are coming on board and doing things in our town. I have Carla Bravo here from the Highlands Business Partnership. She's the president. She's going to talk. Okay?
Thank you. On Saturday, April 27th, we celebrate the partnership with the borough and Comcast Cares. Thank you. Comcast actually dispatches over 300 of their staff into a community each year, and we're going to be giving them job-specific projects, and they're going to be cleaning the town, the streets, the parks, sweeping, painting. We have a partnership with Sherwin-Williams, who are going to be sponsoring the paint for some of our residential and business buildings. They're going to dispatch volunteers to be painting in the community. We'll have Raymore and Flanagan there that will be giving generous discounts to residents. The day will begin early in the morning. We're going to be registering volunteers. If anybody is interested in volunteering or spending the day, we're going to have the Today Show there. The children from the Henry Hudson Marching Band will be there in a celebration, and a local bagpiper from town to start the festivities. And then we'll have a ceremony in Veterans Park at 8 o'clock in the morning. Volunteers will be checking in at Huddy Park from 6:30 in the morning. And then Quick Check will be stationed in Veterans Park to give people breakfast items and coffee before the ceremony. And then our local businesses, in sponsorship with Boardwalk Sausage and Food Town, will be set up for the volunteers in Veterans Park in the afternoon. And we'll also be having additional festivities. We're going to have a groundbreaking ceremony for the Sandy Ground Project, which is through the New Jersey Firemen's Benevolent Association. And they're going to be building the playground for Highlands, as many people have heard about. The project, the Sandy Ground Project, is 26 playgrounds built for the 20 children and 6 heroes in Newtown, Connecticut. So the home for the Highlands Playground is in Veterans Park, and that groundbreaking will also be on April 27th. We also have the Clean Ocean Action Beach Sweeps on that day, so we'll have volunteers from the Clean Communities Program, Rosemary Ryan, and Clean Ocean Action coordinating the beach sweeps. And in addition, we'll have volunteer firefighters from the New Jersey Benevolent Association to remove the boardwalk at Veterans Park, and the Highlands Business Partnership is raising funds to replace the boardwalk in Veterans Park with treadwalls. So we'll have a nice new boardwalk, we hope, by the summer in our Veterans Park. So we just want to give you an update. The information is on highlandsnj.com, and you can also click there to volunteer and get involved or call for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. That wasn't on the spot. The gentleman we had to come and do the speech and give you an update of everything going on had a private matter he had to take care of, so good job filling in there, Carla. Dale, I want you to come over because I'm going to do some engineering questions. This is, take this one first and, read the question. Okay.
All right, will the catch area be the A zone? There was a good chance that is going back to the A zone along with the rest of the business district. A lot of that was in the A zone before. It's going back, most likely going back again. If I get off the over 50% damage list, can I be made to raise my house? Not by me, you can't. At that point, if you appeal the letter and you're successful, the borough backs away. We cannot force you to lift your house or bring your property into compliance with the floodplain ordinances. However, keep in mind that the backside of that is your flood insurance is subject to a substantial increase. Not saying it will happen, but there's a good possibility that it will. All right, but the borough can't force you at that point.
Okay, you want what you can talk about on these two? It's basically the same area, just read them. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. What is going on with the marina on the Bay bulkhead? To be allowed to conduct business as usual this summer with that failing bulkhead is an inspection required to ensure the dock is safe. That I am unaware of. I haven't had any personal involvement with the marina on the Bay bulkhead. I'm assuming that's a code enforcement issue. We will keep this at the forefront and check in with Mr. Mercado tomorrow.
This is about lifting.
Oh, I got one more here. Has the town made any progress with the remediation of the sinkholes in the collapsing bulkhead along Seacrest Avenue? This is another marina on the Bay. Again, we'll look into it further. I'll talk to Mr. Mercado and we'll go from there with it.
This is SBA. Folks, I got a question here for SBA, for FEMA. If we have applied for and have been approved for SBA loan, but do not take it, are we still eligible for elevation grants? I know we had a little trial run on this with the first hurricane that came through, Irene. So I believe they are, right, as long as they apply? Okay, that one's out. That's just for recording. We were told that the mechanism would be, some kind of number based on who applied.
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that. That's up to the people who administer that grant program, whether that be the hazard mitigation grant program or the program administered through the state and HUD. So that's up to them. We need to find out what they're going to require as far as who gets those grants.
I know part of what they said was they were basing that grant on a calculation of how many people applied for SBA loans. Dale, you want to take this one on the house?
Our house is 12 years old. It was built on 12-foot pilings. Even the stadium still had 4 foot to spare at max water height. While it's 12 foot built then, now 14 feet. It's more. There's 14 feet now needed. Wide sea bright at 8 feet. Also, why do people with less than 50% damage have no assistance but must raise? All right, so there's several questions here, obviously. First one, our house is 12 years old with 12-foot pilings. Still to get the water in the house. What they're saying now is, keep in mind, when these maps came out right after Sandy, the state and the federal government, they wanted to give you something to build to that was conservative. They fully admit it was a conservative number. Putting Highlands in the V zone, bringing in a 14-foot elevation, that was a conservative number to the point where they had to give somebody a base point to go to. So they figured if you went to a V zone and you lifted to 14 feet, you're safe, everything's fine. When the new maps come out, they won't be worse than what came out originally. So that's the reason I went up to 14.
Isn't 14 worse than 12?
14 is, yeah, absolutely. 14 is definitely worse than 12.
So why was 12 good for 300 years? So now 14 is necessary.
Well, considering we got 11 and 12 foot surges around town, probably 14 wasn't the end of the world.
I have 4 feet to spare, and I'm in the
Mr. Major, you and I talked about this. I don't know why you're arguing with me now. I really don't. You and I talked about this, and I actually appealed your letter.
They're FEMA people.
More than fun. Let's see here. Next, YC break in a V8, a V8 foot zone. You know what? I didn't come up with the zones for that. I'm assuming a lot of it has to do with the seawall that they have, but that's, we don't determine the heights even for town here. We can argue them, but we don't determine the heights for our town or any other town. And a lot of people with less than 50% damage still required to raise, they're not. Not by us, they're not. By their own flood insurance, it might be cost prohibitive. But from the town, if you have less than 50% damage, you are not required to lift.
Could you do this one?
I can do this one. Whether required to be considered part of the V-zone. Basically, the V-zone is you're seeing wave action of 3 foot or more. A lot of the, I would say the Shrewsbury Avenue area, first block or so along the water, they've been in the V-zone for quite some time, for the most part. A lot of them with the V12. During Sandy, we got protected by the Sandy Hook, there's no doubt about it. They took the brunt of those waves. We took a surge, but we didn't get that big wave impact that they saw up in Union Beach and Staten Island. However, my guess, and again, I'm not coming up with the elevations on this, my guess is that FEMA, the state, whoever's putting these together, is still saying we are still prone along that first block or so to that 3 foot wave action coming inland. So that would be why you'd still be required to have a V-zone along those areas. Is it required along the entire downtown? I would say absolutely not. And I think that's why everything's going to come back to an A-zone. That wasn't an A-zone prior.
That'll lead right into this one.
I've heard from several different sources that the current VE zones may be reassessed and changed to A zones. Does the town know anything about this or have any comment on how homeowners should proceed with lifting versus building up?
Go slow, check it out.
Oh, all right. I apologize. You got to type fast. I'm going to lose my voice here. You have a second person? Or tag in. There you go. I understand. Does the town know anything about this or have any other comment on how homeowners should proceed with lifting versus building up on current structures? Well, we know that as we've said several times, a lot of the downtowns go back to an A-zone. Right? We know that. That's what FEMA's been telling us. Maybe not everywhere, but the majority will be. How homeowners should proceed with lifting is up to them. I mean, if you have the resources now and you want to do it, you're going to comply with the current ADFE zones. Okay? Now, again, some people don't have the resources. They want to wait. The A zone is definitely an easier lift because you can use solid foundations. You don't have to go up piers and pilings in an A zone, where in a B zone you do. However, you're coming into another hurricane season, the next month and a half. So it depends on what your comfort level is. I can't tell you what to do, but keep in mind the zones, looks like there's a good chance they will change. Can you be more specific as to which areas might revert back to the A zone? I can't be more specific. They being FEMA, did not give me specific parameters. They basically said that, I think there's more on this one, right? That's right, they basically said that a lot of the area will revert back to an A zone. Didn't give me specifics on everywhere, they said the majority, so that's to be determined. What areas under consideration? I just mentioned that. Do you know which areas will remain in V-zone? I'm thinking that if you were a V-zone before Sandy, before these maps came out, there's probably a good chance you can remain in V-zone when the new maps come out. So I think the zone you were in before is probably going to go back to where you were. So if you were in V-zone before, you're probably going to stay.
Stand by.
It's all good.
Councilwoman Ryan wants to take one of the questions.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to read the whole question and then I'll tell you what I know. The questions are we working with state and federal officials to secure town grant money? And can we get Representative Palone to come to the next meeting and explain why other towns
parentheses, Seabright, Atlantic Highlands, Keensburg, etc., have gotten large grants, but we have gotten nothing. Okay, yes, we certainly are working with the state and federal officials, FEMA and others, to get grant money for our town. We are doing some very specific work. Can we get Malone to come? We can ask him. But what is going on? I spoke with his office on Friday, and there already is at least one major grant that he already has gotten, and it is awarded. It is called Raritan Bay to Highlands Flood Mitigation Effort. It's in the design stages right now, and there are many millions of dollars being worked on it. It will be dedicated to do a project here in Highlands. There are other things that are also being worked on. I have no problem with asking Malone to come.
He'll be here at Comcast Day also.
Okay, he's going to be here on Comcast Day, so we'll talk to him then. But also to get him to come here and he can ask specific questions. But he has done things. Many grants have been awarded over the years. I would like more, I'm sure we all would. But there is a specific multi-million-dollar project happening right now. And I will call his office and I'll find out if he can attend, and I will, if he's not here at the next meeting, I'll tell you why, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Also, I spoke to him on Friday when myself and Councilwoman Ryan were in a meeting. We were part of a bigger grant that passed, and I guess it got taken out in one of the committees for fisheries and things like that. So Keyport got lost out on that, as we did too. Not that it was specifically for Highlands, but it did apply to our area. And he was very upset about that, but I know they are working on stuff. We have questions about the sewer charges, and why, I don't know in other towns, ours are based on connection fees, not on usage. There's no meters on ours. So we still get a bill from Atlantic Highlands, and they have, the people that are not paying because the houses are abandoned, we're paying it from the sewer authority, we're leaning the properties for that money. So don't think anyone's getting a free ride because they walked away. We are in the process of dissolving the sewer authority, which that could be another whole town hall meeting on that. That'll be done by the end of the year, but that will help, we believe, with relief of the fees and everything else. The reason you're still paying now is we're still paying as the town because we're pumping it to Atlantic and then it goes to Middletown because it's by connection, not by rate. Chris.
Just one addition to that.
Chris, Councilman Francie is on the sewer authority. Got it, Chris?
Yes, we do charge the townspeople by connection fees, and yes, Thompson charges us by flow, but in spite of all the disconnected houses or abandoned houses, our flows for the town have not gone down at all.
Can you use my phone, please?
Come on up, Chris, sorry. Councilman Francie.
There's a second part of this. Yes, the town does charge the residents connection fees because you need the capacity even if you don't have any flow. If you ever come back, that's where the capacity comes in. But the reality is, we pay by flow to Thompson, and our flows for since the storm have not gone down at all. You're shaking your head. I'm not suggesting how it's possible. All I'm telling you, this is what the meters say. Our flows have remained relatively constant. They go up and down every month, but in general, we have not gone down.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like we're living with another family. We're renting a house with our in-laws together. We lost both houses. So that's still, maybe there's no one at that house, but now there's two people at this other, two families at this other house. So that could be part of it. I know a lot of folks are living with other people, so they're still using it, just maybe it's out of one location instead of two.
And part of our flows is what we call the I&I infiltration problem, which our clay pipes are old, and at this point they may have connections, may have cracks in them. We have to fix that. But the reality is, our total flow going to the Thompson plant has not dropped. That's why we have to maintain the charges to the residents, so that our commitments to our bondholders for the sewer system, we have to be financially sound in that process. That is essentially why we have to charge the connection fees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Francis.
Two River Water Conservation Authorities is waiving, I don't know about that, but they're waiving the fees for Van Little Silver, Mountain Beach, Oceanport, Shrewsbury, West Mulberry. All their sewer fees get waived.
How are they paying? How are they charged?
How are we getting charged a flat fee when we should be charged for what we use?
Why do you think we're getting rid of the sewer authority? I've been saying that for 5 years. That's been going on since the beginning of the town was started. Once we went to private.
Frank, those that have water, we have no water coming in my house, I got no sewer going out. So now if I disconnect my sewer in my house, I mean, I lose my payment, right? Is that all?
I believe you're still paying, correct?
No, I disconnect my sewer.
If you disconnect, oh yeah, you disconnect.
So I'll go tonight, disconnect my sewer, I don't have to pay for it.
I don't know that he is permitted to disconnect his sewer, he is not a licensed plumber. I don't know the rules, I've asked you about it.
Who do I educate the rules? Who do I do it? I go, this is going on, the whole time it's down, right? Everybody is paying for the fees that we're not using. Am I paying the same school fees, what you think? I like to know, I mean, but I don't use that much water.
I got a better one for you. Forget the hurricanes and everything else. You got a person that has a 2-family house and they rent out the other side to pay the mortgage, no one's there all year, they pay the same fee. Why do you think we're getting rid of the authority?
Right, I'm talking about using.
So am I. Why do you think we're getting rid of the authority? If you rent it out to one family and you charge them $1,500 rent, you pay the same sewer fee. If no one's living there, you pay the same sewer fee. That's why we're getting rid of the authority. It takes 2 years to do it. We started a year ago.
Okay, where do I find out how to say this? Who I am?
Sorry, can't all talk at once.
I'm missing the rules, please.
I believe it's Dave Palmero would be the answer to that.
I'm getting,
So Chris Francie, we mentioned, we have a gentleman that handles that. I don't know what set verse we're going to top of my head.
My house, not the street.
I understand, but that's honestly why a year ago, myself and Mr. Francie started meeting every Friday with other representatives from other towns to get rid of the sewer authority. It's a legal process. It'll be done by the end of the year, this year. How do you apply for grant money to help businesses rebuild? Whoever, Carla, I know you handle that, you don't gotta come up here, it's a specific question. If you have a business and wanna apply for grant money, Carla, raise your hand. Go see Carla, she'll steer you in the right direction. What is it, a lot of these are based on, did we get money from the Governor's Foundation? No, but we did apply. There was a deadline to apply, we met the deadline and applied. They did hire an economic developer who is a grant writer also, and we have some experience at the table now at council with Councilman Ryan. So they're working together and applying for every grant we possibly can, and we did apply for the governor's grant too. I think the deadline was March 15th, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is the air quality tested for lead asbestos? Part of the remediation of at some point, hopefully not doing it, but if we have to do demolition on these older homes, part of that is, I already read some of those qualifications that you have to do, and part of that will have testers standing by. Tim, you want to take a few? Sure. Just a
Question is, are you charging permit fees? I've been told, not right now, but maybe in the future. Wednesday night at the council meeting, there is a discussion taking place, and I believe the ordinance is up for second reading. That's where formal action will be taken. The direction that we've been giving is we're assessing the fees as current because there's nothing on the books that allows me, as Tim Hill, the Borough Administrator, to waive any fees. So after the discussion on Wednesday night, hopefully Thursday morning, we'll have a clear-cut direction what we're taking. Also, permit fees are very questionable. When people say permit fees, there's all kinds of permit fees. That's got to be spelled out correctly as to exactly what we're talking about. Just like this gentleman has a question about the sewer connect, that's not a permit fee, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of different parts to different fees that are being charged for the construction end. So hopefully Wednesday night, we'll come to a resolution on that. Second question, and basically, I was called for appliances, and I was told they need to be in my house, and the question is why? Will they be available when I move back in? If not, I have a garage to store them. I really can't comment on how agencies, and there's many agencies in town and out of town that come in to help residents. Some of the rules that they have pertain directly to the donor. So if I, as the donor, set up a process, I want to help the town, and I'm working in conjunction with the Solution Center, the church groups, or any other volunteer organizations in town, I can sort of establish how I would like that distribution to go. And I think the goal is to help as many people as we can. And I'm not downplaying the question because I do understand the question. You know, I don't want anyone to be offended, but the real goal is we want to try to get folks that are ready to get back into their homes and try to service them as quickly and as best we can. I used a very poor analogy that if I only have 5 toasters and I have 100 people that need toasters, I have decisions to make. And it's not an easy decision. And a lot of people out there, and I know there's some discussion a lot of how things are done on that vein, but the reality is with limited resources, decisions do have to be made. There are needs forums that are down at the Solution Center. I know the folks down there work hard trying to service people. If there's a question or a definite need that needs to be serviced, there's also other organizations out there. I recommend anyone who is not familiar, if they want to call 211, which is the United Way hotline number. Okay, if you dial that number 211, there's a whole list of resources that may be out there that we're not even familiar with. So there's other ways of trying to hook up. I just want to comment that I believe every organization that's come into town has done a tremendous job to try to get their resources into the residents of Highlands to help them get back on track. It's not an easy task when you think of even the Robin Hood Foundation money that's coming down as part of a grant. There's only $200,000. If we're lucky, the way that falls into play, people being qualified and eligible, we may be able to help 20 to 25 homeowners. That's it. I mean, it's reality. Hopefully we get more resources. That process will be starting once the case manager put into play. But that's really, you know, some people say, oh, you got $200,000. In the context of things, I think we need about 10 times that much to really make a dent. But we appreciate everybody's involvement, and we're going to continue to solicit support. I know that's long-winded, but that's the reality on how we try to get things into folks' hands.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. So folks, part of that, I guess, what you really want to talk about is that there's a lot of rumors out there, and you really shouldn't believe the rumors. That's why one of the main reasons we started having these meetings, so you didn't have to wait 2 weeks for a council meeting or whatever it is to hear about what's really going on. When these private organizations come in and they say, hey, we want to do this, very often they don't want the town elected officials involved for obvious reasons, because they don't want anything to be considered favoritism and things like that for us or a friend or family or whatever. And they set up shop with qualified people. Generally, Mr. Hill's involved with the initial setup of it, and they decide everything. You can't tell them no, you can't spend your money this way. It's private money or a private organization. One of the procedures in Highlands are getting grants for the houses. And everything I've heard, they have a mechanism in place by this year. They ready for next spring. There's no way it's going to be anytime soon. I will literally just go smaller if I was like me. I can assure you they don't go as fast as you would like them to go. But those tokens are $150,000 I apply for. Get We've got people come in, myself, council, and all the time, council, pretty much every Friday, everybody's coming in, here's what you do. The first thing we try to do is make sure it can be done, scientifically, it's there. I've gotten emails from what do you call it, presentations to a follower on engineering that we're here down to one guy who sat there and did topographical imagery and break down to what the materials we use, how much, literally sizes, everything else. So he spent a lot of time on that. And he did a lot of towns over in Japan after the tsunami, so I think he knows what he's talking about. Permitting, I can talk about that. We have a hospital ordinance being passed on Wednesday night. Wednesday night, the council meeting is 8 o'clock at the elementary school. We're going to be talking about that amongst many other things. Have any grants been given to Highlands, and if yes, what are they being used for? There's been many grants applied for. Some we've gotten. The Robin Hood money, because there's another question there about that. The Robin Hood money was given to the Business Improvement District. They're hiring a caseworker. That caseworker is going to obviously dispense the money, and also part of the requirements of doing that, in order to get more money, is to have that person in place. That's obviously not going to be anybody that currently works for the borough. That's somebody that is a specifically skilled person. Tim, how many people have interviewed already, roughly?
At least 8.
Okay. The permit money is another question. We're going to have that mechanism once we have the possible ordinance passed on Wednesday night. Dale, the siren, because I heard this question asked before, on the First Aid building. Someone has to lift their house, obviously around it. The siren will be in their bedroom, basically. The first day, I'll give you, it's really not Dale, I'm just saying Dale, because we like to break Dale's chops off. What we have to do is we're in remediation right now with our insurance company as well as other agencies for all of our buildings and see what we're going to do long term. At some point, we're not going to be able to build all these buildings back in the same spot because of our deductible. Would probably be $250,000 to $500,000 a building. And I think we would also hurt ourselves FEMA-wise and things like that if we build back in the path of, a river. You can't have it both ways. You can't be a V zone or AE zone everywhere in town and still have these buildings that we rely on doing business in every day in the middle of the road. So I think that's it. As we move forward, that'll be answered what we're doing with the First Aid building. We have made some progress down there, but we don't have an exact answer yet. Has the town struck any deals with public adjusters, mobile mediation companies, or house lifters, etc.? No, we have not. We've asked, talked to people, we have all local contractors and local people's business cards down at the Solution Center, and obviously we've asked them to give us hometown discounts. I think you'll see more of that, folks, as we get money to lift, 1,000 houses, we'll be able to do something in bulk and hopefully make a deal with everybody. Jeez. Somebody asked the question, has money run out that was set aside? It hasn't run out because we didn't set any aside, so there you go. So no, the money hasn't run out. Is there going to be any property tax relief? There's a big meeting next week down in Atlantic City where all the mayors, the governor, lieutenant governor, for 3 or 4 days, they're rotating in and out down there. They're never usually in the same spot at one time, like the meetings like that. So it's going to be breakout sessions, and there's going to be a plan on what to do. As far back as December, what they were telling people to do is to take your money that you're getting back from FEMA and pay your tax rate out the first year tax base, so you even it out and don't have to raise taxes. We're going to be making some decisions soon. Myself and Councilwoman Kane are on the budget committee with our CFO, so we really had to wait to see where a lot of these numbers came in and these things came in place, which we don't have all the final numbers yet, but we will first or second week in May. Our goal is going to be obviously not to raise taxes at all. It will be another, a kick while you're down or something, something along those lines, which we don't want to do. So any chance we have to offset that, we will with private money, or federal money or anything like that. Will the grants be available and how do you sign up? And the permit fees we answered. The grants that are going to be available, you have to, the last meeting we had, the folks from SBA said you had to, part of the formula we believe is going to be how many folks have applied for an SBA loan. Not taken it, but applied. And that will be calculated into the formula of how many houses get help with lifting and how much money we get per house. The last time we got $110,000 per house plus $30,000 of the folks' ICC money, and they wanted that program. We changed it up a little bit because at the beginning they wanted everybody to put the $15,000 up front from their $30,000 of ICC money. We were able to not do that, so hopefully we can do that on a bigger scale this time too with the Sandy homes. That's all the questions we have written down, folks. Anybody have anything else? That's a loaded one, right? Okay. I'm sorry? Irene?
Yes, where is that money right now?
Dale, any update on that? Dale is our floodplain administrator amongst other things.
As I've been saying for month after month, unfortunately, we still do not have agreements from FEMA. No offense, FEMA, but we don't have any agreements from you yet. We're still waiting. We're still trying to get everything hammered out between FEMA and the state. I keep getting told the agreements are coming, but again, we have yet to see them. As soon as we get them, we'll review them, get them executed, then we can move forward. But right now, we still don't have agreements.
And that's for the 2011,
That was for Irene. So that's why I keep saying that the hazard mitigation grant for Sandy is going to be out there a bit.
That's why I said before, it's at least a year. Anyone that thinks that is kidding, and that, like myself personally, I know that generally they'll give you a hard time being part of the grant program if you already started lifting.
I haven't done anything with my house. My house is so badly
You
destroyed.
got it,
It's gutted to the studs. It really needs to be knocked down, new pilings put in, and a house built up because according to what I'm understanding, whether it's an A zone or a B zone, we're still gonna be.
That's
need to
correct.
be up that
Whatever the
high.
height level is, in this case, it's 14.
I need to be another 10 feet.
Did you get an elevation
I
certificate
got my
already? Okay,
elevation
so you're at 4?
I'm basically at 4 or 5,
Okay.
and I've got to go up another 10 or 11 feet to be up to what they're saying now. But my house is not going to survive it.
Did you got a letter, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
have the 50%.
Did you have, I don't want to, did you have insurance and everything?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, that's the other thing. It's all the insurance, it's like, well, you can rebuild it, you can fix this. Well, the main structure got damaged.
Okay.
The main beam underneath the house is damaged. So they're saying, well, fix this. Then the ICC insurance or the other part is saying, well, then we lift it. So they're not looking at the whole
ICC
house.
Yeah.
ICC can also be used for demolition as part of, I know it's in my insurance.
Right, and that's what I'm looking at doing. So if I demo the house, then use the rest of the ICC.
What part of town do you live in?
Seadrift Avenue.
Okay.
I'm right by Chilagos.
Okay.
So then if I use the ICC.
To demo.
To demo and put the pilings in.
And insurance would be rebuilding.
And then the insurance, well, I don't have that much money.
No, again, I don't want to.
Grant money.
Right.
To come in and help me finish rebuilding the house.
Now, grant money in Irene was just for lifting and secondary stuff with lifting that was related to the lifting. It wasn't rebuilding. That grant. That doesn't mean that's not going to be in place. This was obviously a lot more devastating storm.
Well, that's the thing, is this house is.
Now, we're not writing that grant, understand, that's coming from higher authority in the Borough of Highlands. We're going to give our input on it and things like that and have at many meetings, but in the end, we're not the folks writing it. We'll probably be the people that are, for lack of a better word, administrating it at the local level.
Well, who's writing the grant? I mean, if we're gonna have grant money available and it's only for lifting.
That's FEMA, but I want you to understand something else too. The folks that are here from FEMA, there's probably 30 different branches of FEMA. I mean, not in a bad way, they just do a lot of different things. So everybody here might not be in anything to do with that part of FEMA. You know what I mean? So we'll be the local administrator of it, that's about it. Yes, sir.
As far as someone in a situation where your local building authority is requiring you to elevate in order to be issued a building permit,
Right.
you can apply to SBA, and we can possibly finance the cost of that elevation if it is what you would call a 50% situation where the local building authority is telling you that your the residence was substantially damaged, that they're going to require you to elevate in order to issue a building permit. SBA can potentially finance 100% of that elevation cost. Of course, we'd have to reduce it by the increased cost of compliance money you may receive. But it is a potential there for you to be able to borrow that money from the SBA disaster loan program. And then if and when the grants come down, then those grants will go to pay down off the SBA disaster loan.
I've been denied SBA loans, so that doesn't help me.
Okay, the only advice I can give someone who's been denied an SBA disaster loan is that you have 6 months from the date on the letter to request reconsideration and to follow the information in the SBA letter that says that we were unable to approve a loan for you. But I just wanted to bring that up as a possible solution to someone in that situation.
Yes, ma'am.
They say that you were not eligible for loans.
I don't have my hard copy of my permits, but the borough cashed my check.
Okay,
Why?
because there's still nothing in place to not get your money.
But you don't even have the hard copies. You're waiting on my plumbers and my elections. I technically don't have my permits.
What are you giving out, the yellow copy?
Yeah, she should have gotten a yellow card.
Did you get a yellow card with it?
Okay, she needs to go down there.
See, if they're down there, you're supposed to have the yellow card so you can start doing your work.
How long ago did you apply for your permit?
I applied back on get my permits and I don't have them. They don't have.
You have to go down there because we're not supposed to hold checks. We don't hold checks. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was told that hearings with FEMA...
What is it? I'm sorry, sir.
I was told that hearings with FEMA, state and local government.
You were told.
I was told.
Okay.
If I put one of
Well,
these...
they're always great sources.
One of these...
The lady can't hear you, sir.
I was told by one of the agencies, FEMA to be exact, that hearings are going to start in August.
Okay.
Between FEMA, the state, the federal government, and local government about these new heights and velocity zones and A zones and the rest of it.
Okay.
And it may take a year to complete that.
No doubt.
And
It's not two.
the local and state governments are going to have significant input as to what FEMA is going to decide.
Okay.
So are you guys already preparing your positions to contest those guys as to whether 14 or 12 feet or other issues are necessary? And then I heard that the final conclusion is not going to be adopted until early 2015.
I would say you're right on that, if not 16.
So if she raises her house to 14, and it comes back that 12 is necessary, somebody blew a lot of money too much.
And what if there's another storm?
What?
What if she doesn't? What if she goes to 8 and there's another storm?
You know, Seabright's at 8.
Okay. Have you been to Seabright?
Sandy was a 500-year storm.
So was Irene was a 200
I built my house 12 years
a year
ago.
apart.
12 years ago, I built my house. And I had 5 feet to spare at B12 in my garage.
Okay.
Now 14 is necessary.
Right.
So
I'm not going to,
50-foot surge, I'll be up at 75 feet. Is that what you're saying?
if there's a 50-foot surge, we won't even be here. We'd have those conversations. So downtown will be a marina. Downtown will be a marina with 3,000 slopes.
Height means,
That means you'll be out of harm's way. And our job is to keep, I know, everybody said, Sandy's not coming, come on, Frank. There's no big deal. You didn't have what?
I didn't have any damage.
Then you were lucky, count your blessings of a home, there's 1,000 people that are out of their houses.
Yeah, but they were at 0 feet.
What's that?
They were at 0 feet.
I was at 6 feet, and I had 5 feet in the house. Wake up. Right.
You were at 6 feet, I'm at 12. I had 5 feet.
And we're going to 14. If people don't like it, I'm sorry. We're going to keep everybody out of harm's
So
way.
you're not going to argue that position in our
I
favor?
didn't say that. I said we're going to 14 Wednesday night. That's the vote. That's what I'm voting for. It's for the people.
Well, good, I'll have to remember that.
Please, come down. Please, do remember it.
I will.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible, in relation to the sewage authority, for the city to bring storm-related price gouging charges against the sewage authority, the attorney general, or
Who's doing price gouging? Who's doing price gouging?
the sewage authority?
No, they're not. It's the same price you paid last year. Price gouging is raising the prices.
Yeah, but it's...
No. Don't make statements like that that are not true.
The city's closed.
City's not closed.
They're claiming the same amount of sewage coming.
Right? That's not price gouging. That's the flows that are done on counters that are saying we have the same flows. There's a lot of, where do you live, man? Okay, there's a lot of folks living downtown that used to live downtown that are living in other people's houses in other parts of town. There's probably 500 or so families living in other houses that are still in town. They're doubling up with people or living in rentals and things like that. So that's probably why the flows are as high as they used to be. But there is no price gouging. The price is the same exact price it was per connection a year ago that it is today. Why would we claim price gouging when it's the same price? The streets are closed. The streets are not closed. Sorry, I'm
People have it. They have to move.
talking about Irene?
Sorry, I can't hear.
You got it.
Reference to the last grant, house raising grant for our meeting, now moving forward to whatever may come down the pipe. The last one, you just mentioned that it was petitioned that you not put on your ICC funds up front as part of, because most of these grants that are FEMA grants are 75-25. it was never clear to me who we petitioned to remove that requirement, was it feds or state OEM?
Well, I believe it was a combination of both, because they had conflicting ways to do it, and we decided as a town we were doing it that way. With the council that was in place at that time.
Ultimately, the decision was made within the municipality, not with the state or the feds.
But they also both were okay with it.
But they were okay.
Yeah, because what we had to do was assume the risk as the town. So in essence, what normally happens is we are not involved in anything other than, if you will, a secondary role in it. So we assumed the risk and we bonded the money, or we were going to bond the money. And as soon as we got past a certain point on the process, if the homeowner backed out, and they knew it ahead of time, they were still on the hook for the money. If they wanted to back out before they got to that point, everything was good, we didn't lose any money, you didn't lose any money. And the reason we did that was so you didn't have to put out-of-pocket money out. Now, that was Irene, where it was a lot less damage. Now, I don't think many people have out-of-pocket money to put out. You're talking 15 grand to start in most cases and things like that. So we'll probably go down the same road and do the same thing and try to be the facilitator of it, and we can, you're going to have at least 300 houses, at a time that you're going to have to lift. It's probably not 300 companies right now that do it, that are local, I should say. And we're going to have to do it in sections and things like that, because you can't have, trucks blocking streets on both sides, things like that. So it's going to be a coordinated effort that we're going to have to be very much involved in.
Along those lines, and I don't have to like it because everybody.
It might just be the answer.
Right, but I gotta ask the question. Along those lines, if we're gonna petition state OEM to make things easier to do, I know we had some issues last time, they set rules that were onerous, particularly to some of us in our situations. And are we going to petition them to relax those rules, especially given that there were precedents?
I think in the end, we had a good working relationship in the end. We went through a lot.